Why Wall Street is shorting the American power grid. The $400 envelope. The envelope looks ordinary. The number inside doesn't. $400, up from $310 last month. Same apartment, same thermostat, same routines. Down the margin is a new line you didn't ask for. System improvement fee. The insert explains resilience, modernization, and storms. What it doesn't say out loud, that line is a guaranteed return for them, not protection for you. They'll earn whether you use more or less. Your cut is the privilege of paying the bill. Miss what's happening, and you'll finance upgrades while the grid grows more fragile. To see why this keeps landing in your mailbox, we need to rewind to a rule that flips incentives. Across the country, bills jump double digits in a year. Winter peaks, summer surcharges, and new riders sliding in mid-cycle. People who set their heat at 66 and hang dry clothes still saw totals climb. It's not the weather alone. It's timing, an aging grid that needs work, extreme storms slicing through weak points, and a capital cycle that rewards spending, especially the kind that inflates the rate base. Utilities are natural monopolies. Regulators set prices so they can keep the lights on and earn a fair return. But the way that return is calculated bends everything around it. When profits are tied to how much a company invests in poles, wires, substations, and software, rather than how well those assets perform, spending becomes the safest path to earnings. The industry's term for stability, constructive regulation, is Wall Street's way of saying the cash flows are predictable, protected, and perfect for large funds. So why now? The transition to cleaner energy requires real investment. Transmission lines across states, smarter controls, storage. That's necessary. But it's also easy cover for oversizing, duplicating, and pushing projects into the rate base quickly. Meanwhile, riders let costs hit your bill between formal cases. You see infrastructure here, storm recovery there, inching a total up without headlines. Here's what you'll get in plain English. How the rate base game actually prints profit. Why decoupling means you can use less and still pay more. How mid-cycle riders staircase your bill. Where modernization turns into gold plating. And what pressure points exist on your bill, in your household, and inside the docket, so you're not just underwriting returns while reliability stalls. This isn't theory. It's the structure under that envelope. Once you see it, you can trace the money from your kitchen table to their quarterly guidance and decide where to push back. The cheat code, how rate base prints profit. Start with the formula they rarely spell out. A regulated utility's earnings are built on 3 layers. The cost of running the system, the cost of financing the system, and the allowed return on the assets used to provide service. Those assets, the wires, meters, substations, control rooms, sit in a ledger called the rate base. Regulators approve a profit on the rate base by applying a weighted cost of capital. Some debt, some equity. The equity slice gets a regulated return, often around 9 to 10.5% in recent years. Multiply that by the approved equity portion of the rate base, add in recovery of costs and depreciation, and you've got earnings. Now hear the incentive. If profit grows when the rate base grows, the safest way to keep earnings moving is to keep investing. A mile of new line earns. A substation rebuild earns. Advanced meters earn. Even the software that stitches those pieces together can earn if it's booked as a capital asset. Meanwhile, routine maintenance, tree trimming, line patrols, overtime crews, is operating expense. There's no profit on expense. So if you have to choose where to put managerial attention, capital wins. This is the CapEx bias. Economists warned about it decades ago. The nickname stuck, gold plating. Spend $1, earn on the dollar. Spend $2, earn on $2. Here's where decoupling enters. Under traditional rules, utilities recovered a lot of fixed costs through volumetric charges, cents per kilowatt hour. If people used less, revenue fell, even though fixed costs didn't. Decoupling breaks that link. It lets the utility true up revenue to an approved target, even if sales drop. In theory, that removes the disincentive to support efficiency. In practice, it means your bill can rise in a year you conserved, because the company is authorized to collect its fixed costs and return regardless of your usage. The throughput incentive is gone. The earnings target remains. Add riders and you get speed. A rider is a surcharge approved to recover specific categories: storm hardening, infrastructure replacement, vegetation management, between full rate cases. Instead of waiting for the next case, the utility files a rider and starts charging sooner. Some riders include later prudence reviews. Many simply reconcile spending to collections. If projects are capitalized, they flow into rate base and keep earning. If they're expense, they clear through the rider as pass-through cost. Either way, cash moves faster from your bill to their ledger. Then layer in the allowed return itself. Commissions set return on equity using models and expert testimony. The stated goal is to match the company's market-based cost of capital. But in many jurisdictions, the awarded ROE has hovered at levels investors love, steady, bond-like yields with upside if the rate base grows. Infrastructure funds see a monopoly with inelastic demand, regulator-blessed returns, and a pipeline of projects pointed at a multi-decade transition. To them, the grid looks like a dividend machine wearing a hard hat. Now watch how modernization becomes a canvas. Advanced meters? Useful if they reduce theft, speed restoration, and enable smarter rates. But they're also thousands of dollars per meter in hardware, communications, IT integration, and vendor contracts. Every piece a candidate for capitalization. Distribution automation, voltage control, sectionalizers, reclusers, tools that can prevent outages. Or if overspecified, tools that bulk up the asset stack. Control centers? Necessary within reason. Or mission control, with redundant screens and software suites whose annual maintenance costs quietly swell. Notice what slips while capital shines. Fewer line workers on call. Longer vegetation cycles. Outsourced maintenance at fixed budgets. Dashboards don't clear a tree from a conductor. People do. Yet the spreadsheet rewards the substation rebuild, not the extra crew. When storms hit, we see the paradox. Spending up, outage minutes flat or worse. In the aftermath, a storm rider arrives. Recovery begins. The rate base grows again. Decoupling and riders have another side effect. They reshape fairness inside a class. As fixed charges rise to stabilize revenue, low-usage customers, renters in small apartments, seniors on fixed incomes, see less benefit from conserving. A bigger share of their bill becomes unavoidable. Add a handful of riders, and the energy line can be the smallest piece of a total. Use less, pay less? Sort of. Use less, pay a little less, but never escape the staircase. If you're thinking this sounds like the utilities are acting within rules rather than breaking them, you're right. This is the point. The cheat code isn't illegal. It's structural. You earn on steel, silicon, and software you own. You don't earn on labor you hire. If regulators award a generous return and allow frequent rider recovery, you'd be a poor manager not to pursue projects that qualify. And if investors are hungry for those predictable returns, boards will lean into capital programs sized to guidance. So how do you spot when necessary becomes excessive? Look for 3 tells. 1. Value for money. Does the capital project beat a cheaper operating alternative that achieves the same outcome? 2. Performance linkage. Are returns tied in any way to improvements customers feel? Fewer outages, faster restorations, lower arrears, or only to dollars spent? 3. Timing discipline. Are riders sunsetting or stacking? If the answer is stacking, your envelope tells the story. And there's the uncomfortable truth sitting under the $400 total. The grid needs investment. Climate is pounding weak points. New generation needs wires. None of that absolves the incentive math. Until profit leans more toward outcomes and less toward inputs, you'll keep funding assets that may not make your next storm shorter. Even as the line called system improvement fee keeps climbing. Wall Street's move-in, infrastructure funds take the keys. While commissions fine-tuned returns and riders, something else was happening in boardrooms 3 time zones away. Infrastructure funds were circling like they'd found a toll road that never closed. The pitch decks were simple. Monopoly service, inelastic demand, regulator-approved returns, and a multi-decade capital plan blessed by policy. Brookfield, KKR, Blackstone, Macquarie. The names you see on stadiums and skyscrapers started showing up on utility cap tables, bidding at premiums and telling investors they'd unlocked a bond-like cash flow with upside. Listen to how they describe it on earnings calls. Constructive regulation. Rate-based growth CAGR. Visibility. Those words mean the same thing. A regulator will authorize enough revenue to cover costs and a return, and the list of projects is long. A new substation, a rebuild here, a transmission corridor there. When the allowed return is steady and the pipeline is full, you can size a fund around it. Raise billions, acquire, lever to investment-grade tolerance, and drive CapEx that feeds the rate base. Guidance becomes a program. A recent bid put numbers to the thesis. An infrastructure arm offered billions for a regional utility at roughly 1.7 times rate base, a price that only makes sense if you believe two things: regulators won't choke growth, and customers will fund the expansion through rates. The premium wasn't for a breakthrough technology. It was for permission, the right to build and earn. Inside these deals sits a fee stack you never see on your bill. The fund charges management and performance fees to its investors. The portfolio company pays shared services to affiliates, IT, insurance, consulting. Sale-leasebacks can move assets to sister entities, sending rent upstream while the utility recovers lease costs and rates. Nothing here breaks a law, it exploits a seam. Regulated entities recover prudent costs. The corporate family decides how those costs are recorded. The first move after takeover is rarely dramatic. Executives promise continuity, capital discipline, reliability. Then the cadence shifts. Multi-year investment plans expand. Modernization grows a broader umbrella. Filings emphasize resilience, wildfire mitigation, cyber upgrades, the very categories riders can pick up mid-cycle. If commissions agree, spend accelerates and rate base follows. The guidance slide turns into a staircase. Meanwhile, dividends and distributions head upstream on a clock. Parent companies have their own investors to satisfy, so payout targets harden. If a rate case trims the ask or a storm year blows the budget, you don't usually see a dividend cut first. You see O&M savings, deferred maintenance, hiring slowdowns, contractor rotations. The spreadsheet protects capital recovery. Crews absorb the bend. Private capital didn't invent this incentive. It standardized it. Funds train teams to speak regulator and banker in the same sentence. They model decoupling impacts by class. They map where riders move fastest. They study which jurisdictions award higher ROE bands and which commissioners signal constructive. Then they deploy. A patchwork of state rules becomes a portfolio of cash flows that looks diversified on paper and unified in practice. Customers, not markets, are the backstop. Watch how the green story gets woven into this. The energy transition needs wires, big ones. High voltage lines running across regions, substations reconfigured for two-way flows, storage to firm peaks. All true. It also happens to be the highest margin theater for the rate-based game. Transmission earns for decades, with federal policies often smoothing allocation fights. Present that as climate necessity, and you've got both moral cover and financial momentum. Green plating isn't a slogan in a document, it's a budget category sized to earnings targets. You can catch the shift in small human moments. A control room supervisor gets a note. Travel budgets tightened, training deferred to next fiscal. A line worker notices vegetation cycles stretched a month and a half. A city engineer hears that the undergrounding they asked for got scoped as a pilot, while a broader AMI upgrade moved forward at speed. Later, at the kitchen table, a new storm hardening rider appears. The language is soothing. The math is not. From Wall Street's perspective, this is responsible stewardship. Mobilize capital, harden critical infrastructure, deliver reliable returns. From your vantage point, it's a transfer. Bill risk flows to households, execution risk shifts to crews, and financial certainty sits with funds that can exit when the next buyer arrives. The envelope pays for the premium and the plan. There's a reason these deals keep clearing. They align perfectly with the rules on the books. As long as returns are awarded on dollars invested, and riders keep receipts moving between cases, the grid reads like a safe asset with built-in growth. Until incentives change, the smartest money in the room will keep turning your necessity into their performance. And they'll do it with your signature, automatic each month, due on receipt. The Modernization Mirage, gold-plating the grid. Grid modernization sounds like a public good you can't argue with. AMI meters to spot outages faster. Self-healing circuits that isolate faults. New control rooms to see the system in real time. Undergrounding near hospitals. Who wouldn't want that? The catch isn't the aim. It's the way the label becomes an umbrella big enough to hide a lot of steel and a lot of margin. Start with advanced metering. The pitch is crisp. Instant reads, remote connect/disconnect, theft detection, time of use pricing. In practice, the meter is the cheapest part of the upgrade. The bill is integration, communications networks, head-end systems, data lakes, software licenses, cybersecurity layers, vendor support. Each slice is capitalized, Each dollar joins the rate base. When a pilot yields modest theft savings and slightly shorter truck rolls, the full rollout still lands because the platform needs scale. A year later, outages feel roughly the same to people on the end of the line. What changed reliably was earnings. Walk into the new control center. It's impressive. Tiered desks wall to wall. Displays, redundant feeds, a backup site across town. Necessary, up to a point. But plenty of rebuilds arrive with premium specs justified by black swan scenarios, then spend the next decade running Tuesday traffic. Meanwhile, in the field, the feeder that fails every August waits for a rebuild next year because the automation spend ate the slot on the schedule. Modern software won, old insulation lost. Undergrounding wears the whitest hat. It avoids wind damage and removes hazard trees from the equation. It also costs many times more per mile than overhead rebuilds. Used sparingly, it's a scalpel. Used broadly as hardening, it becomes a gold-plated ribbon across neighborhoods that didn't rank highest on risk. The selection tells you the truth. Where customers are influential, conversions move early. Where dollars are scarce, trimming cycles stretch. Then there's distribution automation. Reclusers, sectionalizers, voltage optimization, good tools. They're sold as no regrets because they reduce losses and reroute around faults. But overspecification piles on. Devices every few spans, software that requires vendor-only updates, analytics modules most operators don't use. You see invoices for features, not outcomes. On paper, SAIDI and sci-fi targets tick down a hair. On your street, the two longest outages of the year happen after storms snap the same untrimmed limbs. Cybersecurity is the one place no one argues to skimp. Still, watch the lock-in. A single vendor stack becomes standard. Future procurement ties to their roadmap, and switching costs balloon. Annual support contracts escalate with little scrutiny because they're bundled under critical protection. The finance result is tidy, recurring fees backed by capitalized platforms. The ops result is mixed, alerts aplenty, headcount unchanged. The modernization banner also hides an OPX diet. Every new asset creates a maintenance obligation, but the budget that feeds it doesn't grow at the same rate. Crews retire, contractors rotate, apprenticeships lag. A utility can point to record CapEx while field supervisors juggle fewer people across more territory. Restoration depends on trucks, not dashboards, yet the spreadsheet's brightest cells live indoors. You can feel the shift in service calls. A homeowner reports a primary sagging close to a pine that's leaned all winter. The ticket gets a 20-day window. Storms bump it twice. 2 months later, the feeder trips and the same address sits 8 hours without power. The next bill carries a resilience rider. The note says investments are underway. They are, just not the one that would have prevented this. Modernization becomes performative when programs outrun measurement. If a utility can't show verified outage minutes avoided, energy saved, or customer minutes restored per dollar, the portfolio is branding. Value for money tests exist. They're too rarely required. When they are, projects look different. A sectionalizer goes in, a recluser waits. A conductor gets spacer cable, a decorative vault defers. In filings without that discipline, buzzwords do the heavy lifting. Self-healing reads better than retrimmed circuit. Storms expose the mirage. After a major event, we learn which investments were real. Hardened laterals hold. Risk-based vegetation work pays off. Undergrounding at choke points matters. But spend that chased rate base instead of risk? It fails noisily. Restoration depends on mutual aid and overtime, both OPX. Those invoices don't earn, they just clear. The month after, a storm recovery rider arrives and the cycle resets. There's a path that doesn't end here. It ties allowed returns to outcomes customers feel. It funds non-wires alternatives when they beat substation expansions. It forces riders to sunset unless targets are met. It requires hosting capacity maps and interconnection deadlines so distributed energy can defer capital. It channels federal grants first so ratepayers aren't financing what taxpayers already covered. It measures equity. Outage reductions where they've been worst, not where headlines are easiest. Until then, modernization will keep meaning two things at once. A handful of smart fixes that make the next storm shorter, and a portfolio that grows the rate base whether or not your lights come back any faster. The envelope won't tell you which one you purchased. The next outage will. The rider staircase, how bills rise between cases. Between full-rate cases, the bill learns new tricks. They arrive as narrow filings with comforting names: Distribution System Improvement Charge, Storm Cost Recovery Rider, Vegetation Management Adjustment. Each promises to recover prudently incurred costs for a specific purpose. Each is temporary. None feels temporary once it lands. Here's the rhythm. A utility files to launch or expand a rider with a defined scope. Regulators approve a cents per kilowatt hour adder or a monthly customer charge, often with an annual reconciliation. Work proceeds. The rider collects. When the period ends, remaining balances true up. Meanwhile, a new rider arrives for a different bucket. You're not facing one surcharge. You're climbing a staircase of them. The genius is timing. In a traditional case, everything gets litigated together: revenues, expenses, investment, performance. Riders break the bundle. Storm costs can start flowing months after the event. Vegetation cycles can be front-loaded into the season. Infrastructure replacements can kick in at the beginning of a multi-year plan. Cash moves quickly, scrutiny fragments, and the total finds you before a headline ever does. Cash flow alignment is the phrase you'll see. It sounds reasonable. Don't make the company wait years to recover dollars it already spent to keep the system safe. But alignment cuts one way. When storms are light, few riders refund proactively. When vendor prices come in under estimate, the rider doesn't always ratchet down mid-cycle. The reconciliations happen later, quietly, while new riders arrive noisily. Now look at compounding. Imagine 3 riders at once: infrastructure, storm, vegetation. Each adds $1 or $2 a month, or a half cent per kilowatt hour. Stack them, and a modest home sees 10, then 18, then 30 extra dollars before any base rate change. Layer in a grid modernization rider approved last year, and a transmission adder set by regional tariffs, and the staircase steepens. You aren't paying one bill. You're paying 5 bills folded into one envelope. Fixed charges make the staircase feel steeper for low users. Riders tied to a flat monthly amount hit an apartment dweller harder than a large house because a bigger share of the total becomes unavoidable. Riders tied to kilowatt hours still stack on top of base energy rates, but decoupling true-ups can offset conservation gains. The signal gets muddy. Turn off lights, and a rider eats the savings. Small businesses feel it in margins. A bakery that proofed dough at night to dodge peak rates still pays the storm rider on every kilowatt hour and a flat infrastructure fee per meter. The owner raises the price of a loaf by a quarter and cuts a Wednesday shift. Upstairs, the landlord passes through the same riders to tenants on Plus Utilities leases. No one links the quarter at the register to a line a continent away, but the push is the same. Riders also reshape politics inside a class. Large users lobby to structure riders volumetrically. Low-usage advocates push for per-kilowatt-hour design to preserve a conservation signal. Utilities prefer fixed charges to stabilize revenue. Commissions split differences, then add balancing riders to smooth impacts. The staircase looks fair on paper and unfair on Tuesdays when the bill lands. Prudence reviews exist, but they arrive late. A storm docket 2 years after landfall confirms some costs were high, disallows a tranche of contractor overtime, and orders a credit. The credit appears as a small negative line on 3 bills while a new wildfire mitigation rider begins. You technically got your money back. The net still marches up. Then there's harmonization. In multi-division systems, riders can align territories. Town A's rates move toward Town B's averages as a regional vegetation rider spreads costs. Customers who had historically lower delivery rates lose the advantage without a single pole replaced on their street. The file calls it consistency. Your kitchen calls it a surprise. The escape hatch is supposed to be sunset clauses. A rider ends when the bucket empties, but buckets refill. Infrastructure plans become rolling programs. Pilot hardening becomes evergreen resilience. Storm seasons don't stop. Even when a rider zeroes, a successor appears with a new docket number and familiar language. You can track it if you're stubborn. Pull 12 months of bills. Highlight every line that isn't base distribution and energy. Note the codes R, RM, DSIC, SMP. Add them month over month. That rising sum is the staircase you're climbing between cases. Then scan the commission's calendar. You'll find the hearings that created those lines happened on Wednesday mornings with 6 people in the room. Riders aren't villainy by themselves. They fund real repairs fast. The harm is in accumulation without outcomes. If your outage minutes don't drop, if trees still scythe through the same feeder, if arrears rise and shutoffs resume, the staircase financed motion, not progress. That's the place to push. Require sunsets that actually sunset, tie continuation to verified results, and force bill impact tables that show the stack for a studio, a family of 4, and a corner store. Because once you see the steps, you can stop climbing blind. The green pretext, clean energy as CapEx engine. Clean power is real. We need it. But inside the utility profit machine, clean also doubled as the perfect accelerator pedal. Transmission, storage, inverter upgrades. Every category fit neatly into the rate base. The climate story made it urgent. The accounting made it lucrative. Start with transmission. New wind belts and solar basins sit far from cities. To move that power, utilities propose billion-dollar high-voltage lines, step-up stations, and rights-of-way that take years to secure. On paper, it's nation-building. In the ledger, it's decades of return on assets. The longer the line, the larger the rate base. Cost allocation fights rage at the edges, but once the order hits, customers fund it through tariffs that rarely shrink. Then come renewable interconnections. Utilities publish glossy roadmaps, thousands of megawatts queued, transformer banks expanded, feeder upgrades scheduled. Necessary pieces. Also prime capitalizable chunks. A substation enlargement that could be solved by targeted non-wires alternatives becomes a rebuild. Hosting capacity maps arrive late, interconnection deadlines slip. Meanwhile, the CapEx plan slides forward intact, sized to a growth rate investors already expect. Storage is the new darling. Batteries smooth peaks, firm solar, and help avoid gas peakers. They can also be sized beyond need. A 1-hour unit becomes a 4-hour block for resiliency. Converter rooms grow. Fire suppression adds premium features. Each safety step is defensible, the total swells. Stack enough megawatt hours, and you've created a depreciation schedule that pays for years. Whether operations dispatch them well becomes a later question, one the bill can't answer. Retirements create the second harvest. Coal units exit. Securitization bonds appear to pay stranded costs. Ratepayers repay those bonds over decades. At the same time, replacement resources, renewables, storage, transmission, flow into the rate base with fresh returns. It's a finance two-step. Monetize yesterday's plant while earning on tomorrow's portfolio. The energy transition is the reason. The earnings profile is the result. Overbuild risk creeps in through capacity planning. Regional markets set reserve margins. Utilities model peaks. Peaker plants and storage get justified for extreme hours that might arrive a handful of days a year. Instead of demand response at scale, cheaper, quicker, OPX, steel answers show up because steel earns. A 300 megawatt peaker that runs a dozen hours annually looks absurd to a layperson and completely normal to a spreadsheet linking investment to return. Rooftop solar stands at the awkward intersection. It reduces delivered kilowatt hours and can defer some wires upgrades if integrated well. But it also threatens volumetric recovery and slows rate-base growth. So fixed charges rise. Net metering gets rescoped. Minimum bills expand. The rhetoric is fairness, cost shift. And there's truth there. The quiet piece is incentive alignment. Distributed assets owned by customers don't feed utility returns the way utility-owned assets do. Green, if owned, is a profit center. Green, if customer-sited, is a problem to be managed. Watch how riders carry this. Renewable integration, transmission cost recovery, clean energy adjustment, all appear between cases, aligning cash flows before prudence reviews land. Federal policy sweetens the runway with tax credits. Utilities propose regulatory assets to capture development costs. When grants exist, you'd expect ratepayers to benefit first. Too often, filings treat grants as accelerants to CapEx, not substitutes. The plan gets bigger, the bill follows. Investors know this script. Presentations stack phrases: energy transition, electrification, AI load growth, beside charts showing rate-based CAGR. The climate narrative unlocks capital from funds that would have balked at old-school wires. It also dulls local scrutiny. Oppose a line, and you're anti-progress. Ask for non-wires alternatives, and you're told the clock won't wait. Meanwhile, value-for-money tests stay buried in annexes. There's a better way to aim the same dollars. Run competitive solicitations for non-wires alternatives wherever they can defer substation expansions. Tie ROE adders to verified outcomes. Outage reductions, peak shaved, emissions avoided per rate-based dollar. Require open hosting capacity maps that update quarterly. Enforce interconnection timelines with automatic credits. Push grants first, with explicit bill credits showing taxpayers funded the asset so ratepayers don't pay twice. Demand transparent capacity studies that publish assumed load shapes, including demand response and managed EV charging, before approving storage blocks sized like peakers in disguise. And if rooftop solar and community solar threaten revenue stability, redesign the business model. Let utilities earn a regulated service fee for integrating third-party resources that demonstrably defer capital. Pay for orchestration, not just ownership. Align return with the least cost path to reliability, not the most capital-intensive version of the same promise. Because the transition isn't the pretext. The pretext is using the transition to maximize rate base without measuring results customers feel. If your bill carries a clean energy rider, you should see cleaner power and a sturdier street. If instead you get another insert about resilience while your outage map blinks red, you funded a story. The next docket is where that changes, when you ask for outcomes first and CapEx second, and make the allowed return follow. Disaster finance, storms, wildfire, and guaranteed recovery. Disaster used to mean emergency budgets, bond debates, and hard choices. Then utilities learned how to turn catastrophe into a product. Today, storms, wildfires, and freezes sit inside financial structures that move money faster than crews move bucket trucks. Structures designed to smooth risk for companies and push it onto bills labeled recovery. Start with catastrophe bonds. A utility, or a state risk pool, sets up a special vehicle. Investors put cash in. If no disaster meets the trigger, say, wind speeds below X or a drought index above Y, they collect a juicy coupon and get their principal back. If the threshold is breached, principal flows to the sponsor to pay emergency costs. Parametric triggers mean no adjusters, no litigation, just a data point, certified, and money releases. It's speed for the operator and a non-correlated return for the buyer. Your role: paying the coupon through a rider tucked under resilience. Storm securitization is the next ladder. After a major event, the utility tallies extraordinary costs, overtime, contractors, materials, destroyed assets, and asks to turn that pile into long-dated bonds backed by a dedicated charge on your bill. Regulators approve if the math beats traditional financing. Investors buy because the cash flow is effectively guaranteed by statute. You repay with interest for 15, 20, sometimes 25 years. The storm is gone. The charge endures. And because securitization sits off the company's balance sheet, it preserves room for more capital spending, on which they'll still earn returns. Wildfire liability rewrote playbooks. In high-risk regions, utilities faced ruin after ignitions linked to their lines. Legislatures stepped in with funds, prudent standards, and cost recovery lanes. Vegetation riders grew. Public safety power shutoffs became a tool. Kill circuits preemptively to avoid blame. The incentive is clear. If risk raises, the allowed return and recovery is likely. The finance equation rewards mitigation portfolios sized to earnings targets. A hillside stays flammable, the filing thickens, the bill adds a line. Listen to the language: risk transfer, credit positive, cash flow alignment. It's not wrong. Cap bonds pay quickly. Securitization lowers near-term pressure. Liability reform can keep a grid investor grade when fires are seasonal. But the human side feels different. A family buys a generator because shutoffs keep coming. A diner on a rural highway throws away food after a planned outage runs long. Months later, both see a wildfire mitigation charge, a storm recovery rider, and a resilience fee. They underwrote faster finance and slower service. These tools also create strange incentives. Parametric triggers pay on the event, not the outcome. A bond releases when wind hits the threshold whether the utility's prep actually reduced damage. Securitization moves yesterday's costs into tomorrow's bills, freeing today's budget, and diluting urgency to reform maintenance practices that would shrink the next tab. Shutoffs protect the balance sheet, but also shift harm to communities least able to absorb it. If the spreadsheet rewards capital plans and transfer mechanisms more than trimmed rights of way and extra patrols, companies will optimize to the sheet. You can see the loop. A winter storm crushes a region. In the aftermath, emergency riders begin. The next filing adds a hardening portfolio: poles, reclusers, underground bundles, some smart, some showy. A year later, securitization bonds arrive to sweep remaining costs off the books. That fall, a wildfire season triggers public safety shutoffs. The following spring, vegetation riders increase, and a parametric program refreshes. Nothing here is illegal. Everything here is rational. If your goal is to stabilize earnings first and service second, there's a better way to use the same finance. Tie cat bond coupons to performance. Lower premiums when verified risk reductions land. Line miles hardened where fires start, circuits reprofiled from worst performing to average. Make securitization contingent on reforms. Independent audits of vegetation cycles, hotspot patrol frequencies, and contractor training. Write wildfire riders with neighborhood equity metrics. The worst circuits get funded first. Automatic bill credits apply when shutoff hours exceed plans, and shutoffs require a published alternative: backup power at clinics, cold storage at community hubs. Then lock accountability to the money. Every resilience rider sunsets unless targets clear. SAIDI down where it's been worst, ignition risk score reduced on named feeders, restoration times trimmed for medically vulnerable customers. Publish a disaster ledger households can read. Bonds outstanding, years remaining, bill impact by apartment, ranch house, and corner store. If the tool shifts risk to ratepayers, it should shift power to them too, in the data and in the docket. Disaster finance isn't going away. Storms are stronger. Fire seasons are longer. The question isn't whether we pay, it's what we buy. A structure that guarantees recovery without guaranteeing improvement is a promise to the wrong party. Tie the dollars to outcomes you can feel when the wind rises, and the next envelope might still carry a storm charge, but it will also carry a shorter outage. Service erosion: fewer crews, slower fixes, higher risks. You can chart service erosion by listening to hold music. A storm takes a feeder down. A mother calls to report a line arcing across her back fence, and the automated voice says, "High call volumes." 20 minutes later, she's still on hold. Somewhere, a dashboard shows it instantly. But the truck that fixes it isn't on the screen. It's stuck on a longer roster. This is where CapEx bias turns into hours without power. OpEx, people, training, patrols, trimming, spare parts staged close to failure points, doesn't earn a return. So when guidance demands expense discipline, the belt tightens around crews first. Retirements slip by without replacements. Apprenticeships get deferred a year. Third-party contractors rotate in for storm season and disappear before they learn a circuit's quirks. The institutional memory that once lived in a lineworker's hands drains out of the room. Vegetation management is the tell. The cheapest pass trims everything the same: fast, shallow, repeat next year. Risk-based hardening takes maps, local knowledge, and time. Species, growth rates, prevailing winds, past fault histories. It means going deep where you must and skipping where you can. But the bid that wins a spreadsheet is miles per dollar. Crews do exactly that. You see it after a wind event. The circuit with 2 chronic hazard trees trips again, while a few blocks over. Branches a foot from the line survived untouched because the contract required miles, not risk. Advanced meters don't clear debris off a crossarm. A self-healing circuit can't close if the recluser never gets maintenance. Dashboards multiply, wrench time shrinks. In the control room, operators stare at more alerts than staff can triage. Meanwhile, a rural substation waits for a breaker that's been on backorder. The emergency spare cannibalized for last month's outage and never restocked because inventory targets were tightened to save a few basis points. Safety bends when staffing does. Pairing rules get stretched on a quick job. Fatigue sets in during a 7th consecutive 12-hour shift. A contractor unfamiliar with the company's switching procedures misses a step, and a near miss stays near by luck. The incident rate ticks up a hair, brushed off as volatility. What it really means is the margin for error is gone. When you run hot, you run brittle. Listen to field radios after a big event. Crews ask dispatch for switching orders. Dispatch is overwhelmed. A mutual aid team from 3 states away can't find a lockbox because the stadium naming rights vendor now also standardizes substation hardware labeling, and the standard hasn't reached this yard. Coordination time choose daylight. Restoration slips a day. The next morning's bill insert thanks you for patience and reminds you of the company's ongoing investments in resilience. The human cost isn't only lights out. It's boil notices that cascade because a lift station lost power longer than planned. It's a grocery tossing a walk-in full of dairy at 2 a.m. It's a dialysis patient on a portable battery praying the estimated time of restoration is real this time. It's a volunteer fire crew navigating dark intersections because the signal retimers haven't been serviced in 6 months. Every one of those is an operating decision that got outvoted by an asset plan. Outsourcing can work, but not at a sprint. When contractors churn quarterly, training never sticks. The utility saves on benefits and loses on consistency. Line by line, the knowledge of which gates are locked, which easements flood, and which poles sink after a thaw disappears. A map doesn't capture that. A veteran who remembers a 2009 ice storm does. He retired last spring. Paper performance hides the drift. SAIDI and sci-fi averages improve a whisper because minor blinks count, and automation cleans those quickly. The long, life-interrupting outages, the 8-hour restore after a limb tears down a span, don't budge. Customers feel those, not the micro-faults. But the metric was good enough for a press release and a rate rider renewal. Ask crews what would shorten the next storm. You hear the same list. More saws on the right circuits, deeper trims where the wind comes from, extra spares staged ahead of season, apprentices paired with vets, and a supervisor who can say yes to overtime without calling 3 layers for permission. None of those earns profit. All of them by back hours of your life. This spiral isn't inevitable. Commissions can require staffing benchmarks tied to outage reductions, not headcount for its own sake. Vegetation plans can be risk-scored and audited in the field, with automatic bill credits when cycles slip. Performance-based regulation can put a slice of allowed return at risk if restoration targets aren't met where they've historically been worst. Procurement can break vendor lock-in, so maintenance software doesn't dictate how a crew rolls. When you see a resilience rider on your bill, ask for the roster behind it. How many qualified line workers per 1,000 miles of line? What's the median response time by zip code? How many miles trimmed by risk class, not just miles? Require those answers in plain tables, not annexes. Because service erosion doesn't start with a storm. It starts when the spreadsheet treats people as a cost center and steel as a profit center. If the envelope keeps getting heavier while the lights don't come back faster, it isn't because no one knows how to fix it. It's because we funded the wrong fixes. The utility debt trap, affordability cliff, and shutoffs. You can see the trap in a stack of envelopes on a hall table. A family falls 1 bill behind after a winter spike. The next month, riders push the total higher. A third month adds a late fee, a reconnection risk notice, and a payment plan offer that looks helpful until you read the fine print. Installments layered on top of a rising current bill. The math stops being about electricity and starts being about time. How many paychecks until they're current, and will the lights hold until then? Arrears have been climbing in high-cost regions. When base rates rise, riders stack, and fixed charges harden, households with low usage lose the only cushion they had: conservation. Before, a careful month, thermostat down, laundry off-peak, could shave enough to catch up. Now a third of the bill is unavoidable. A missed payment pulls forward late fees. In some territories, a disconnection charge lands before the line is cut. The trap isn't just owing more, it's owing differently. Shutoff policies turn finance into harm. A notice hits with a 10-day window. Medical protections exist, but the paperwork is tight and the definitions narrow. A parent with a child on a nebulizer loses power at 5 p.m. A utility offers an after-hours reconnection, after a fee posts and a partial payment clears. The refrigerator warms. The apartment manager shrugs. Utilities are on the tenant. The next morning, the diner across town opens late because their prep cook's alarm didn't go off. Her phone died in the dark. Payment plans sound like a bridge. Often they're stairs. A budget billing, average hides seasonality, but doesn't erase debt. Arrearage management programs erase portions when on-time payments land. Too many are underfunded or underpublicized. Prepay meters are sold as control. For a renter, they're a meter with a trapdoor. If the balance hits 0 at 2 a.m., the heat cuts silently unless emergency credit is enabled and the customer knows how to unlock it. The death spiral lives here. Rates increase to cover capital and riders. Households respond by using less. Fixed charges rise to stabilize revenue. The conservation signal dulls. More customers fall behind, arrears swell, and collections costs Field visits, call centers, credit agencies, flow back through the next case as prudently incurred. A system meant to recover fixed costs becomes a machine that manufactures them. Small businesses feel a parallel squeeze. A barber with 3 chairs can't shift loads. The lights must be on when customers arrive. A pizza shop swaps to LEDs and staggers prep. The storm rider still hits every kilowatt hour, and the infrastructure fee is flat. Margins thin. A single shutoff notice becomes an existential threat. Lose one weekend night, and the rent falls behind. Commercial reconnection fees are higher. Credit terms are shorter. Survival bends around a meter. Municipal echoes show up in water and sewer. A city stretches to modernize pipes and treatment. Bonds fund it, riders repay it. Shutoff policies migrate from power to taps. A family already juggling an electricity plan now faces a door tag for water. In places where liens attach, unpaid utilities threaten housing, not just comfort. The bill stops being a monthly nuisance and becomes a wedge. The equity hit is quiet. And compounding. Seniors in small apartments pay a larger share in fixed charges. Renters can't weatherize. Rural customers sit at the end of long laterals that fail first and restore last. Resilience riders don't make those hours cheaper. Medical exceptions save some. Language barriers and forms block others. Even when assistance exists, LIHEAP, state credits, utility hardship funds, the paperwork and timing miss the emergency window by weeks. There are pressure points that work. Automatic, data-matched enrollment for income-qualified discounts, no forms. Arrearage management that forgives chunks with verified on-time payments and pauses late fees while a customer performs. Medical baseline expansions that follow a diagnosis, not a calendar. Shutoff moratoria tied to extreme heat and cold that don't require a news headline to trigger. And outcome-tied riders. If arrears rise or shutoffs exceed thresholds, a portion of the allowed return flexes down until programs reduce harm. Then restructure the signal. Cap fixed charges for residential customers to preserve a path out through conservation. Publish a bill impact table on every docket for a studio renter, a family of 4, and a corner store. Fund community navigators to sign neighbors up for assistance in churches and libraries, not just call centers. Require utilities to file a debt map by zip code and track reductions as a condition of resilience fees. If disaster finance can move money overnight, so can relief. Because a grid that stays on while people fall off is a system working as designed for the wrong outcome. A shutoff isn't a collection tactic, it's a public failure. Tie earnings to lowering that number, and the next envelope might still carry riders, but fewer homes will open it in the dark. Personal defense. Cut what you control. You can't rewrite a tariff from your kitchen table, but you can stop paying for mistakes you didn't make. Start with bill literacy. Pull the last 12 months and circle every line that isn't base distribution or energy. DSIC, storm recovery, renewable integration, decoupling true-up, customer charge. Add them across. That number is your staircase. Now scan your tariff for seasons and tiers. Some riders reset in summer, some spike in winter. Put calendar alerts 2 weeks before each change. You're not gaming the system. You're refusing to be surprised by it. Next, interrogate your usage. Most utilities now provide hourly or 15-minute interval data in an online portal. Download it. Look for flat tops on weekdays, HVAC running too long, or a nightly sawtooth that never settles, standby loads. If your portal can't export, screen capture the graphs each day for a week and build your own picture. Then set alerts. Many portals let you trigger a text when usage exceeds a daily threshold. Use it. When the AC runs past what you expected, you'll know before the bill explains it expensively. Thermostats are blunt instruments until you teach them. A good smart thermostat runs cheap on sale and expensive by default. Don't trust the default. Program weekday setbacks, widen deadbands so the compressor isn't short cycling, and use eco away modes aggressively. If your utility offers a demand response program, enroll, but watch comfort. Keep override handy. Stack rebates where you can, federal tax credits for heat pumps, state incentives for thermostats, utility rebates for weatherization. One call to the utility marketplace can net a $1 thermostat after bill credit. Take it. Targeted electrification beats virtue purchases. If your water heater is old resistance, a heat pump water heater can cut that load in half and shift it to night with a timer. If your home has a 20-year-old gas furnace, A cold climate heat pump with a right-sized design can swap fuel volatility for controllable electricity, especially if your plan offers lower off-peak rates. Don't chase whole home perfection first. Replace the worst offender with the biggest rebate and the highest runtime. Then move down the list. In the kitchen and garage, timing matters. Run dishwasher and laundry in off-peak windows if your tariff rewards it. If you drive electric, program charging for the cheapest hours. Even a flat-rate plan may carry a seasonal rider that makes nights better. If you don't have a timer, a $15 smart plug and the Cars app will do. In flats with shared laundry, at least avoid the top system peak, late afternoon on hot days, so your kilowatt hours don't carry the priciest riders. Solar and batteries pencil differently now. If you can own rooftop solar, compare cash purchase to third-party power purchase agreements. Ownership captures tax credits you can apply. PPAs push that value to the financier. If your roof is shaded, don't force it. Community solar, where available, can deliver a fixed discount without panels. Batteries deliver bill value if your tariff has demand charges or steep peaks. Otherwise, treat storage as outage insurance first, arbitrage second. Pair a modest battery with a critical loads panel so the fridge, modem, lights, and a medical device stay on. You're buying hours of dignity, not a bunker. Small businesses have sharper tools. If your tariff includes a demand component, one 5-minute spike can set a month's charge. Install a cheap demand monitor, some cost less than a dinner, to watch your interval load. Stagger ovens, compressors, and HVAC so peaks flatten. Consider a second meter for process water or outdoor loads if sewer charges are tied to the main. Show your utility the avoided gallons. In seasonal shops, ask for an alternative rate class that reflects shoulder seasons. Don't accept a one-size demand plan because that's what the last tenant used. Audit leaks you can't see. Water heaters on vacation mode when you leave town, dehumidifiers on timers, garage fridges that run in 100-degree heat for 3 sodas. Phantom loads are real. A power strip that kills entertainment centers when you sleep pays back in months. If your house howls in winter, a blower door test from a home energy checkup will show where your money escapes. Many utilities still subsidize air sealing and attic insulation at 50% to 100%. Take the subsidy, reduce the rider-taxed kilowatt hours. Now the dockets you don't read. Find your consumer advocate's office. Ask to be added to their alert list. When a rate case opens, skim the summary and file a 1-page comment that asks for bill impact tables for a studio, a family of 4, and a corner store, sunset clauses on riders, and performance conditions that tie any resilience fee to verified outage reductions by zip code. You don't have to write a brief. You have to show up once. Finally, build a neighbor list. Share what you learned, how to download interval data, where to find rebates, which riders spiked this season. Host a sign-up night at a library for arrearage programs and discount rates with a notary and a printer. The rules rely on silence. Your best defense is noise that sounds like a dozen people reading the annexes out loud. Civic playbook. Rate case pressure that works. Rate cases look like paper storms you can't enter. Enter anyway. The first move is location. Every increase lives in a docket, an online case file with a number. Find yours on the Commission's website or ask the consumer advocate to send you active electric cases. Add the calendar to your phone. The hearings you miss are the ones that build your bill. Show up early, not at the vote. Intervene if you can. Some states let individuals or neighborhood groups file a simple letter to become a party. If that's too heavy, submit public comments on time and in writing. Ask for 3 basics in plain language: a cost of service study, bill impact tables by usage level, and a rider inventory that shows totals by month for a studio, a family of 4, and a corner store. Numbers in human shapes change hearings. Hit riders directly. Demand sunsets with teeth. If targets aren't met, the rider ends automatically, not reviewed. Require prudence reviews with automatic credits. Miss a milestone, customers get a bill credit next cycle without filling out a form. For any resilience or storm rider, attach outcome conditions. Verified outage minutes reduced in the worst performing circuits first, not citywide averages. Push OPX back into view. Ask the Commission to set staffing benchmarks tied to results. Line workers per 1,000 miles of line, median response times by zip code, vegetation miles trimmed by risk class, not just miles. Require third-party field audits that spot-check trimming depth and hazard tree removal with public maps. When budgets tighten, crews shouldn't be the first cut and the last to be measured. Shift returns toward outcomes, not inputs. Support performance-based regulation that puts a slice of ROE at risk and another slice as an adder, based on reliability, affordability, and equity outcomes customers feel. SAIDI and sci-fi by neighborhood, arrears and shutoffs trending down, verified non-wires alternatives deployed where they beat substations. Tie any ROE adder to improvements that clear in the same communities that have suffered longest. Close procurement seams. Ban success fees for advisors who only get paid if a sale closes. Demand affiliate transaction rules. Services from corporate siblings priced at market with competitive bids every 3 years. Require disclosure of all related party leases and insurance in one exhibit, not scattered annexes. If a utility proposes a vendor lock-in platform, insist on open standards and exit clauses. Force grants first. When federal or state money is available for the same project, require utilities to pursue it before asking ratepayers to finance. File a grant displacement table that shows how much outside money reduced the capital ask and the explicit bill credit per customer class. If taxpayers paid once, ratepayers shouldn't pay twice. Open the grid. Require hosting capacity maps that update quarterly so developers and communities can see where distributed energy fits without triggering upgrades. Set interconnection deadlines with automatic bill credits to the project when the utility misses dates. Publish queue aging by feeder. Transparency is pressure that doesn't need a headline. Protect low users. Cap fixed charges to preserve a conservation path out of high bills. For any move to increase fixed fees, demand a rate design trial that shows winners and losers by usage decile. Pair changes with automatic enrollment in income-qualified discounts using existing data matches. No forms, no phone trees. Fund the watchdog. Many commissions allow a small system-wide assessment to support an independent consumer advocate. Back it. Intervenor funding lets community groups hire engineers and accountants for a case. Ask for it explicitly. Without counter-experts, annexes decide everything. Make bill impact visible. Require a single-page bill at a glance in every filing, base rates, each rider with start and end dates, monthly dollars at 2 usage levels, and the total staircase over 12 months. Post it where people pay, online portals, payment centers, paper inserts. If the staircase is public, the politics change. Bring neighbors. Organize a 10-minute briefing before hearings at a library. How to find the docket, what to ask, who to email. Give people a script that fits in one paragraph. Ask for sunsets, outcomes, staffing benchmarks, grants first. 5 comments beat 1 speech. Finally, lock accountability to the calendar. Ask the Commission to schedule quarterly technical sessions on any approved rider with public reporting. Miles trimmed by risk, circuits hardened, outage minutes avoided, arrears reduced. If the utility misses 2 quarters, the rider steps down automatically until performance catches up. This isn't theater. It's how a kitchen table reaches a balance sheet. The rules already assume you won't be there. Be there. Rewiring incentives. Spend on outcomes, not just steal. We've shown how the rules pay for inputs. Now flip the math so the money follows results you can feel. Start with the return itself. Keep a base ROE that reflects real market risk, then add small, temporary adder slices that only unlock when targets clear where service has been worst. Not averages, zip codes. If outage minutes drop 20% in the 5 hardest hit neighborhoods, the adder clicks on for a year. Miss the mark, it turns off automatically. No petition, no pleading. The scoreboard pays the bonus. Next, equalize capital and operating dollars. Let utilities earn a regulated margin on verified non-wires alternatives the same way they earn on a substation. Metered, independent measurement, fixed duration. If an $8 million portfolio of demand response and targeted tree work defers a $30 million transformer upgrade for 5 years, share the savings and book a modest return on the service. When OPX can earn like CapEx, the gold-plating urge starts to fade. Kill the blind spots. Require hosting capacity maps that update quarterly and are accurate enough to plan real projects. Publish feeder-level interconnection timelines with automatic bill credits when dates slip. If the utility hits its deadlines, let it keep an on-time performance adder. If it doesn't, the adder steps down until the queue is back on schedule. Developers stop guessing. Customers stop paying for delay. Put grants first, not last. When federal or state dollars cover a portion of a project, The filing should show a grant displacement table, outside funding at the top, and an explicit per-customer bill credit that reflects avoided financing. No credit, no approval. If taxpayers funded it, ratepayers shouldn't pay twice. Regulators can make that a condition of every capital rider. Make resilience pay only when it performs. Tie any wildfire, storm, or hardening rider to verifiable reductions in outage minutes, ignition risk, and medically vulnerable downtime by circuit. Each quarter, publish those numbers. 2 misses in a row, the rider dials down automatically until the trend reverses. If a parametric bond coupon is on your bill, lower it when targets clear. Finance should share the benefit of the work, not just the cost of the weather. Aim equity with a map and a meter. Score circuits by risk and hardship, historical outages, vegetation hazard, medical equipment prevalence, poverty rates, language access. Require that the first 30% of any modernization budget lands on the top decile of need. Track progress, not press releases. When those circuits improve, move the band. If a utility hits equity placement targets, grant a small adder tied to that achievement. Miss it, and the base ROE trims until spending matches the plan. Redesign riders to sunset for real. Every rider needs a clock, a target, and an exit. When the bucket empties or the milestone clears, it ends automatically. Any renewal must show value for money. Dollars per outage minute avoided, dollars per peak kilowatt reduced, dollars per arrear forgiven. Publish that in a one-page bill at a glance, with the staircase people actually pay. If the metrics wobble, let customers see it before the next surcharge arrives. Protect conservation with guardrails on fixed charges. Cap residential customer charges, so low users keep a path out of high bills. If a utility wants to shift costs to fixed, run a decile analysis and pair it with auto-enrollment into income discounts, data matched, no forms. Tie a sliver of the allowed return to arrears and shutoffs trending down. If disconnections rise while profits hold, the incentive is aimed at the wrong outcome. Fix procurement and affiliate seams. Ban success fees for advisors whose pay depends on closing transactions. Require competitive bids for affiliate services every 3 years with public comparisons. Standardize cyber and operations contracts on open standards and make exit costs visible. If a vendor's lock-in blocks alternatives, the Commission can disallow the premium margin in the next case. Transparency sharpens pencils. Then move to comprehensive performance-based regulation, not a grab bag. 4 pillars: cost efficiency, no throughput incentive, CapEx/OpEx parity, and customer outcomes. Tie a defined share of earnings to each pillar, with clear math and automatic adjustments. Keep it simple enough for a kitchen table to follow and strict enough for a spreadsheet to respect. Finally, show receipts. Quarterly, hold a short public session. Outage minutes by zip, queue times by feeder, grants applied and credits issued, arrears and shutoffs moving the right way. Post the deck where people pay their bills. If the numbers drift, the adders fade until they don't. That's how you turn A. Rate base from a target into a tool, and aim the grid at results that matter when the wind rises. The flashpoint: what happens if we don't change? You can chart where this goes if the rules stay the same. Costs compound. Base rates step up, riders stack, and fixed charges harden to protect revenue. Arrears rise, then shutoffs. Households that once shaved bills with conservation find the staircase is mostly unavoidable. Fees you can't turn off with a light switch. The grid looks richer on paper and poorer on your street. Reliability drifts. Modernization spends swell, but the outage you remember is still the one that matters. A limb tears down a span no one got to, restoration runs long, and the resilience, insert lands in the mail the next month. When storms intensify, a thin O&M bench means longer blackouts, more boil notices, and more mutual aid pending on maps. The bill continues on time, the truck doesn't. Investment moves. A manufacturer tours 2 states and picks the one with steadier power and clearer rates. A data center models peakers and riders and takes a subsidy across a river. Main Street businesses do the quiet math. A bakery raises prices, a barber cuts hours, a grocer downsizes refrigeration. Property values follow service. Neighborhoods at the end of long laterals pay twice, in hours and in appraisal lines that inch down. Politics hardens. Ballot initiatives try to cap rates, commissions push back. A county votes to municipalize. Bond math meets reality. Legislatures lean on securitization to sweep storm tabs. then return the next session for resilience fees. The hearings get louder, the annexes get longer. People stop believing the slide that says constructive regulation and start showing up with their bills. Climate presses. Peak demand spikes with heat waves, wildfire seasons stretch, and shutoffs become a normal mitigation tool. Medically vulnerable customers ride batteries through dusk. Clinics stage coolers and backup generators. The system reacts with bigger portfolios, storage, transmission, undergrounding, some smart, some sized to earnings expectations more than risk maps. Emissions fall on schedule, trust does not. Meanwhile, the incentive machine hums. Wall Street raises the next fund, targets jurisdictions with visibility, and prices a premium over rate base. Guidance promises high single-digit growth. Writers keep cash moving between cases. When a commission trims an ask, O&M tightens and deferred maintenance grows. A safe asset looks safer than it is because people absorb the volatility the spreadsheet avoids. Communities split. Well-organized districts get conversions and pilots first. Rural co-ops stretch volunteers through another storm season. Renters can't weatherize, fixed charges bite. Seniors in small apartments pay a bigger share for features they don't use. A family in a studio funds a substation rebuild 2 towns away with a rider they never saw coming. Equity becomes a word in filings and a gap in kitchens. The fork is visible. One path is a regulated finance machine, rewarded for inputs, buffered by riders, measured on averages, and insulated from the hour your lights go out. The other is a public service grid, paid for verified outcomes, open to non-wires competition, staffed where risk lives, and honest about what taxpayers cover so ratepayers don't pay twice. Both spend billions. Only one buys time back. If nothing changes, crises turn permanent. Cat bonds roll, securitizations stack, resilience fees go evergreen, and the envelope becomes a ledger of past storms and future promises. Trust drains out. People start solving alone, generators, batteries, solar where they can, and the commons hollows. A grid meant to knit towns together becomes an invoice. The flashpoint isn't a headline. It's a season when the outages feel longer, the bills feel heavier, and the hearings feel empty. That's when the pressure breaks somewhere, at a ballot box, in a courtroom, or on a street with candles and windows after sunset. The choice arrives disguised as paperwork. Keep funding steel because steel pays, or pay for results where people live. One path keeps guidance intact. The other keeps the lights on. Your next steps, a 7-day action plan. Day 1, pull the last 12 months of bills. Circle every line that isn't base energy or distribution. DSIC, storm, resilience, vegetation, transmission. Add them month over month. That sum is your staircase. Snap a photo of each bill and start a simple spreadsheet. Date, usage, total, riders total. You've made the invisible visible. Day 2, create an energy baseline. Log into your utility portal and download hourly or 15-minute data. If export isn't available, screenshot a week. Set text alerts for daily thresholds if your portal offers them. In your home, hunt for flat nighttime loads and short-cycling HVAC. Program your thermostat with weekday setbacks and wider deadbands. Day 3, take the money on the table. Visit your utilities, marketplace, and federal, state rebate pages. Pair a discounted smart thermostat with a demand response enrollment you can override. Schedule a free or subsidized home energy checkup. Ask for blower door, duct leakage, and attic insulation quotes. Note deadlines for tax credits and upload them to your calendar. Day 4, targeted electrification. List your top energy hogs. If you have an old resistance water heater, price a heat pump water heater and set it to run overnight. If your furnace is aging, get a right-sized cold climate heat pump quote. Don't chase everything. Replace the worst offender first with the largest rebate and longest runtime. Day 5, solar/storage reality check or community solar. Get 2 rooftop quotes and a third-party PPA offer. Compare ownership, you keep tax credits, versus PPA, they do. If shade kills rooftop value, enroll in community solar if available. Batteries? Treat them as outage insurance first. Pair a modest unit with a critical loads panel. Day 6, small business and apartment tactics. If you run a shop, install a low-cost demand monitor and stagger ovens, compressors, HVAC. Explore second meters for irrigation/process water where sewer fees follow the main. Renters, focus on plug strips, LED swaps, smart window AC controls, and landlord letters citing utility incentives for weatherization. Day 7. Go Civic. Find your commission's docket for the current rate case. Submit a one-page comment. Ask for bill impact tables by usage level, real sunsets on riders, and performance conditions that tie any resilience fee to outage reductions by zip code. Forward a template to 5 neighbors. Share your staircase tally and rebate links. You've turned a bill into a plan. Keep a monthly ritual. Update your spreadsheet, check alerts, and calendar equipment filter changes. The grid's rules won't change overnight. Your bill can, if you steer it. The final harvest. The grid still powers our lives. Too often, our bills power their spreadsheets. If dollars don't buy shorter outages and fewer shutoffs, we're financing motion, not progress. Want the water and farmland chapter that completes this picture of financialized essentials? Watch the next film right now. Subscribe for more field-tested playbooks, templates, docket links, and rebate guides you can use this week, so your paycheck stops funding fees and starts buying time back.